Okay, I'll ask everybody to stop being friendly and let's get on with this annual meeting. This intimidating function that we all have to go through every year to be legal. Yes, we will, and it'll be fun, believe me. Maybe in 2 hours you won't think it. I'm Kent Russell, I'm the president of the board here, and I welcome everybody. I'll have a few words to say later, so I'll call to order the 183rd annual meeting of the Worcester County Horticultural Society. And for those who are joining us on Zoom, closed captioning is activated, and we're, I think, probably recording this. I'm not sure that we are, but it's done by AI, the closed captioning. So there might be some very amusing little typos that are fun to. I'd like to introduce our stalwart clerk and messenger and minute taker, Rick Leaf, our secretary.
Hopefully we'll get a warm welcome today. We had 73 members submit their votes during registration, so that fulfills a quorum of 60 members. So this is a legal meeting this afternoon. I move that we waive the reading of the 182nd Worcester County Horticultural Society annual meeting minutes. And do I have a second for that? Thank you.
One moment.
Oh. Thank you. Even better. The type is much bigger. So don't go away with that.
Okay, I won't.
Okay, I'm in the right place here. Yeah, of the submitted votes to waive the reading of the 182nd Worcester County Horticultural Society annual meeting minutes, there were 77 in favor, 0 opposed, 13 abstained.
The motion carries in that case.
I now move to approve the minutes of the 182nd Worcester County Horticultural Society annual meeting. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Of the submitted votes to approve the minutes of the 182nd Worcester County Horticultural annual meeting, there were 77 in favor, 0 opposed, 13 abstentions.
The motion carries.
Thanks very much.
Treasurer's report is next. Mike Olkowski, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Macnowski. I've enjoyed the privilege of serving as the garden's treasurer for 4 years now, and assistant treasurer for 2 years before that. My role as the garden's treasurer is to present the financial health of this wonderful organization, the various internal committees, the board of trustees, and to you as members. They tell me I have 5 minutes. I'm going to do this in 8 minutes, so bear with me. This time last year, I was sharing my annual update with you, which was the first time during my tenure as treasurer, as assistant treasurer, that the garden showed an actual operating loss. In other words, despite record-setting FY23 revenue, $7.1 million, the garden's expenses were more than that, causing a net operating loss. Now, keep in mind, at that time, we were still managing through the post-pandemic high inflation environment. It was the first time since the pandemic the garden was not supported by COVID relief or other financial stimulus programs. So finding our equilibrium as an organization in that new normal required a little patience and flexibility. That being said, my finance team and I were motivated to not have another operating loss for FY24. So we challenged Grace and her team to deliver a budget to the board that would strike that all-important balance of investing in the garden for long-term success, while also reducing expenses. In short, we needed a plan that would allow the best chance for the garden to achieve a positive FY24 result. We look at slide 3. I'm happy to report Grace and her team welcomed that fiscal challenge, and even more impressive, they delivered a fiscal year 2024 result that was $336,000 better than budget. It ended up being a break even on a net income basis. Expenses for FY24 were lower than the prior year at $7.25 million, and revenue once again came in at an all-time high, a new record of $7.25 million. When you dive a little deeper into the good news, you can see that the growth engine of the garden, the earned revenue category, which accounts for almost 60% of our annual revenue, is really firing on all cylinders. Admission and membership revenue was 2% above budget, despite some actual challenges early on in the fiscal year. Garden shop revenue exceeded its budget target by 1%, thanks to a great result during the usually slow winter month of the garden. And the real shining stars, both private events and education department, far surpassed their budget target by 14% and 30% respectively. Private events exceeded their annual revenue target in November of 2023, and education reached their goal in December of 2023. Bottom line, operating revenue for the garden is humming along very nicely in almost every category that me and my finance team obsessed about as reliable indicators for the organization's financial health. The trend is very good, and the results continue to be very strong. In fact, every earned income line item on the garden's P&L statement, with the exception of contract revenue and plant sales, exceeded their FY24 goals. Even more impressive when you look at the fiscal year 24 results relative to the 5-year revenue trend. Last year was an eye-popping 43% increase, roughly $2.17 million when you compare that against the pre-pandemic FY20 result. You actually go to the bar chart, just one slide forward. You can see the previous 5-year results there. Just a real indication of the garden's momentum, and something that should be celebrated. Finally, with regards to the balance sheet of the organization, at the end of 2024 fiscal year, we forward just one more to the, we're in a very strong position. Total net assets for the garden sit at roughly 59 million, and the year-over-year change in total assets saw a remarkable $6.5 million increase, which is a gain of about 12% year over year. Even more impressive about the balance sheet, the garden has almost $60 million in assets and no debt. This is a terrific achievement and a huge advantage for our organization compared to other nonprofits who are struggling to navigate the challenges of this high interest rate environment, something we really haven't dealt with in nearly 18 years. Broken out a little bit further, about 25 million of the garden's balance sheet is in fixed assets, buildings, lands, plants, etc. But the other big component, as we all know about, is the endowment, which is worth about 27.7 million as of March 31st, 2024. As I'm sure most of you are aware, the stock market had a very good 23, resulting nicely from the difficult 2022. And so far for 2024, it has continued this gain in a very strong year for both the capital markets and our endowment as well. As of March 31st, the trailing 1-year return for the investment portfolio was 15.5%, which is very good considering the relative comparisons. And when you look out further, the 5-year annualized return is 8.6% per year, and the 10-year annualized return is 7.2% per year. The investment portfolio has only experienced 3 down years over the last 10 for its net performance, resulting in a gain over that period of time of $15.2 million. In summary, as I reflect back on my 4 years as treasurer for the garden, I've enjoyed the privilege of being one of the first people that Grace and her team reaches out to for advice, both for exciting new initiatives, as well as for the occasional financial challenge. We spoke a lot during 2020. In every interaction, I've consistently been impressed with how thoughtful, nimble, and proactive Grace and her team are at navigating and adapting to any situation, an attribute that has most certainly led to the garden's continued financial stability and many successes outlined in my report. You may recall from my previous annual meetings, I described fiscal year 21 as the year of resilience, fiscal year 22 as the bounce back year, FY23 as a transition to a new normal. I have to come up with something this year. So now, given the extremely strong results seen for this last fiscal year and the momentum that the garden continues to enjoy, I think it's appropriate to recognize FY24 as just the beginning of more great things to come. It's a work in progress. Personally, I could be more excited about the foundation that Grace and her team have put in place, and with the extremely strong results seen last year in admissions, membership, garden shop sales, private events, and education programs, the revenue engine of the garden. I'm very pleased once again to reiterate that the New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill is in a strong financial position and on a very good path moving forward. Thank you.
Now for my turn, this is fun. As we came in today, it struck me, of course, the artworks fluttering in the breeze right now are just magnificent, but of course, they signify as well a commitment to pride and to inclusion, which is a most important thing that we talk about continuously at the board level. I introduced myself earlier, but in case you've forgotten, I'm Kent Russell, and I head the board. And I want to thank, I'll get the thank yous over first, you know, I'll do the Oscars and thank my mother and start crying. I want to start off to thank all the members in the room, the donors, staff, the garden volunteers who weed, and you're welcome to my house anytime. Thank you, please. And my fellow volunteers on the board. We tend to forget that the board are also volunteers, and we do our best and we work pretty hard. And I thank the members of the many committees, many of whom are not trustees, and they serve the New England Botanic Garden collectively very well, as you've just heard from Mike's report. We're booming here. Your support of the garden, of the staff, and your support during my first year as president is really appreciated. So I say thank you from the bottom of my heart, really, to all of you. Working closely with what I call our intrepid and fearless leader, Grace Elton, has been a real revelation and a pleasure. I've worked with a lot of people. I've been in art museums for most of my life, so they tend to be very febrile, high-strung, thoroughbred horses in my line of business. So, you know, you don't say boo in a room with a whole load of art historians. They might just duck under the tables. Not Grace. She's just straightforward, getting the job done. I want to reflect a little bit on the history of our organization, which is really venerable. 182 years ago, that's a fair bit of time, certainly for us in the United States. A group of leading Worcester citizens, farmers, remember, horticulturalists, sort of everyday kind of people with a little bit of spare time and spare cash, founded the Worcester County Horticultural Society, which today is the third oldest such organization in the United States. And over time, they built a magnificent facility for the activities of the society, such as annual produce and flower shows and lectures. And some of you in this audience might have remembered that building on Elm Street, downtown Worcester, which is now the Historical Society. The Worcester County Historical Society, we should remember, was founded on the principles of utility and was typical of 19th century scientific mind. They wanted to understand and improve plants. That tradition of utility in science lives on today at the New England Botanic Garden in the historic Davenport apple collection in the Harrington Orchard. Davenport was a trustee of this venerable organization, and he made the preservation of heirloom apples his lifetime work. Wasn't he lucky? Over his lifetime, he collected over 119 varieties and 250 trees. In 2018, the garden began the restoration of this nationally important collection of rare trees. Mark Richardson, our horticulturalist director here, led the team, which included Fedro Trees of Maine, to save the trees by using cyan wood to propagate new saplings grafted onto disease-resistant root. Not cheap, not easy, not quick work, not for the faint of heart. The Davenport Apple Tree Collection is a perfect example of the intersection of science, botany, preservation, and history. They're beautiful trees, and the apple blossom has become our logo. but their preservation is of national importance, not just local. Without our care, these rare and varied type of apples could have been lost to future generations. But why bother? Who cares, really? Well, it's what we do here. That's what the Worcester County Horticultural Society is about. We protect, we preserve our environment, and demonstrate ways to nurture New England's natural landscape. Our mission is to create experiences with plants that inspire and improve the world, and our vision is a world where people and plants thrive. That's what you do, all of you, when you support or you work at the New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill. It's important work, and we make it fun, I hope. The staff here make it fun for us. Our Chief Executive Officer, Grace, has assembled an extraordinary group of dedicated and accomplished professionals, deeply dedicated to the success of this organization. And I'd just like to applaud them here. Over 230,000 visitors last year can't be wrong. Now, it kills me to say that because I used to run a little icon museum down the road. And we were struggling with 4,000 to 5,000 visitors annually. And I'd always threaten Grace that I'd come out with a placard at the bottom of the Botanic Garden driveway, this way to the icon museum. But it's an extraordinary number. Seventh highest visited attraction in Massachusetts. And we're thriving, as indeed the nature under our care is thriving. How can the gardens look so wonderful? It's because of the hard work and the dedication of 14 horticultural staff and over 200 volunteers. And we'll be celebrating their accomplishments throughout this meeting. But again, I'd like to pause and just applaud our volunteers. I'm almost over. We're not just a pretty garden. We're a center for preservation and care of the flora in our New England environment. The new climate garden just here is an accessible and hands-on youth-oriented garden that demonstrates agricultural techniques for a more sustainable future. Our vegetable garden, while beautiful, produced 525 pounds of produce that was sent to the South Worcester Neighborhood Center last year. Throughout our gardens, you could see evidence of preservation work and change. The Natto Garden plantings are being renewed, and the hardscape will be restored and renovated this summer. The lawn garden pergola will be rebuilt, and there's a new pathway off the lawn garden filled with beautiful flowering plants this spring. Of course, there's the Ramble Garden for children and their families, dedicated by the McDonough family, and long-time dream of long-term trustee of ours, Martha Pappas, and many other loyal supporters. One of our most popular gardens where families share the wonder of seeing frogs and snakes and the water creature, and an amazing variety of plants, trees, and shrubs. It's an outdoor classroom for botany. And last year, all of us who attended the 182nd annual meeting endorsed the famous name change. It's a mouthful, and it's okay to continue to call us Tower Hill. We allow that because we are the New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill. Nothing has been lost. We've only gained an enormous geographical reach. We've gained the opportunity to partner with like-minded art organizations throughout New England and beyond. And by doing this, we adopted a bold ambition that shows every sign of being within reach. Thank you. Glad I came before Jim Karadimos, because I have to call up Jim Karadimos, who's the former president of the board and now heads our development program.
Happy summer. Good afternoon. Jim Karadimos, and it's my pleasure to be here this afternoon with you.
for my 14th annual meeting. It's with great pride and profound gratitude that I deliver this year's annual advancement report. This past year has been nothing short of extraordinary for the New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill. And I'm thrilled to share the good news with all of you. We're at an all-time high of over 12,162 members. That is amazing. My first year on the board, we were at 3,500 household members. They brought in a revenue of over $1.13 million. While they were here, they spent over $600,000 and brought with them over 84,000 visitors. If you haven't gotten your green card, please do. So, wow, all these numbers, right? So fundraising, we saw us last year grow more than 144 new gifts. Those 144 new gifts raised over 1.495 million above fiscal year 23. Again, 1.495 million. That allows us to fulfill our mission. What we're seeing, unfortunately, nationally, we are seeing a decline in the number of donors and overall gifts from individuals to not-for-profits. Gratefully, we are not seeing that trend here, except for our annual fund, which continues to underperform against our targeted goal. I believe this is our biggest hurdle facing us in fiscal year 25. So please, all of you, take note and understand that every unrestricted gift matters. Our Growing Boldly, our capital campaign, which we finished in December, raised over $33 million against a $28 million goal. You can see how much good that money did. The ramble, the centerpiece of this campaign, and a long, long dreamt of children's garden. We were the only public garden that didn't have a children's garden. The Center of Youth Education welcomed over 12,115 kids last year. You think that makes a difference in their lives? I do. So this accomplishment is just not a testament to our financial success, but a reflection of the deep-rooted commitment and unwavering support from every single one of you. Your generosity and belief in our mission has enabled us to grow, thrive, and blossom in ways that I can tell you not so long ago we only dreamed of. So thank you. Our perennial circle, our planned giving society, is currently at approximately 72 benefactors, 11 who signed up this year. We raised about $60,000 in bequests last year. I welcome a conversation about leaving a legacy to the garden if you choose to. So I would say overall, hey, not a bad year. And I would be remiss not to acknowledge those responsible for this monumental achievement we have all achieved together. And I'm going to start by extending my heartfelt thanks to Grace, our exceptional CEO. Your visionary leadership has been the cornerstone of our success. Grace, your dedication, passion, and relentless pursuit of excellence have guided us through every challenge and truly every opportunity. We are truly fortunate to have you at the helm. To our advancement team, led by Teresa Lee. Hello, Teresa. Your tireless efforts and extraordinary talents have been instrumental in driving us forward. You and your team have connected with our community, you've inspired our donors, and you've cultivated relationships that have sown the seeds for our future growth. Your hard work and commitment have not gone unnoticed, and we are deeply grateful. I must also express my sincere appreciation to my fellow committee members on advancement and development, as well as all of our board members. Your collaboration, insight, and unwavering support have been vital in steering our efforts and ensuring our success. Together, we have navigated this journey with determination and shared purpose, and it has been an honor and loads of fun to work alongside each of you. And of course, to our members and supporters, you are the heart and soul of our garden. Your love for this sanctuary and your belief in its mission is what drives us forward daily. It's what drives our staff forward daily. Your contributions have made a significant impact. We could not have achieved this without you. So reflecting on the progress, I was looking for a quote, and I sort of thought, hey, wouldn't it be neat if I found a quote that happened in 1842? And lo and behold, I did. And I sort of came upon it. We were in the public garden, and there's a statue of Edward Everett Hale. And he said in 1842, and I quote, "Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success." Truly, this year has embodied the spirit of those words. Together, we have transformed challenges into opportunities, dreams into realities, and potential into flourishing beauty. As we look ahead, I hope you continue to nurture this garden with the same passion and dedication that has brought us here. Our journey is far from over, and to ensure that we continue to thrive and serve as a place of solace and learning, I ask for your continued support. Whether it's through volunteering, your time, sharing our mission with others, or contributing financially, every bit of support makes a profound difference. Thank you again for all your unwavering support, dedication, and belief in our vision. And here's to another year of growth, beauty, and success. Thank you for your time.
Now it's my great pleasure to introduce the now famous Grace Elton.
I don't think Diana knew when she picked this photo that I'm in the photo. I'm in the front going, because I was so excited about the OWL program. You can't see my 3-year-old sitting on my lap in front of me. There's a person in front of us. But this is just one example of one of the wonderful things that my staff does here. And yes, I come as a visitor and I attend the programs and I get to do all the learning with all of our visitors as well. So as Kent said, my name is Grace Elton. I'm CEO here at the Garden, and I've been here about 7 years now. So it's been incredible watching how this garden has grown and changed. And it really is because of the support of the people in this room, the people on Zoom, the 13,000 plus members, all of the supporters. It's been really, really wonderful to watch what we've made this garden into. So we have had another extraordinary year. You have just heard about our really impressive financial results for fiscal 24, as well as the amazing success of our capital campaign. With COVID thrown in there, a 5-year campaign turned into a 7-year campaign. That sometimes we thought, how are we going to cross the finish line? How will we ever finish these construction projects? But we did it together, and I'm so proud of what we've achieved together. We built new gardens, we improved our infrastructure, we did so many things that brought in more youth and adults to connect to our mission, and that's what we are all about here. So we also had a very extraordinary year for visitation. Some of these numbers you've heard already, but we have had the most garden visitors in the garden's history at 230,000 people coming through our doors last year. Now, this wasn't just through admissions, it was also through participating in a class or an event, or attending a private rental. About 128,000 of our visitors came as general visitors, coming to see the garden during the day, and 66,000 came at night for a night lights exhibit. Now, just over 10 years ago, our visitation was 63,000 people. So the total people coming to the garden in a whole year came for night lights last year. We've tripled the amount of bodies coming through the door to visit our gardens. Our staff is a little tired, but I hope they're also energized for all the new attention we're getting. We had almost 17,000 youth and adults attend our classes, 62,000 attend a special event, almost 15,000 attended a private rental event. And each of these numbers is a very significant increase from last year. And the growth, it really is outstanding. The interest in all that we have to offer is greater than ever before. And I'm so proud of that number of member households, over 12,000 member households that Jim reported, because our membership is higher than ever before. And we could not operate our garden without our wonderful volunteers. I know some volunteers are here. We have over 475 volunteers. Last year, they donated 6,000 hours of volunteer service to the garden. So thank you so much to our volunteers. We are about halfway through our 5-year strategic plan, a little over halfway through. And the plan was very bold. We presented it to you at the summer of 2020. And it included tactics to enhance our horticulture, to become leaders in the field, and to deepen our community engagement. And it really has made such an improvement and been really a guiding star for all of our operations here at the garden. I love that the underlying themes of our plan are inclusion, diversity, equity, accessibility, while having the backbones of also sustainability and organizational excellence. Now, in the next slides, I wanted to go over at a very high level a couple of our achievements, and what you'll see is that I've listed strategy 1, tactic 4, those kind of things. I'm not going to go through all that, but what I wanted to point out was that we actually use our plan. It doesn't sit on a shelf, and when we're making new plans for the garden, if we're considering a new initiative, if we're thinking about what to stop doing, we always go back to our plan. It really is something that we use every day. And I really hope that each of my staff members see themselves and their work in the garden in this plan. We made great achievements in sustainability because of our plan. We have done things like investing in new green technology, where we installed solar panels on our barn roof that helps to power the new fleet of electric vehicles. Utility vehicles, mowers, hand tools are all now electric, and we're moving towards the totally green operations for our horticulture department. We've also focused on integrated pest management in our conservatories for a number of years, and we're bringing that outdoors and trying to increase the number of beneficial insects on our property. Ken mentioned the beautiful new pathway down to the secret garden that we call the beneficial border. We also have made many garden improvements over the past couple of years. We've enhanced our stewardship of our naturalistic areas and our wild edges, and also we restored our orchard, as Ken told you a little bit more about in detail. This year, we also made some significant infrastructure improvements inside of our building. We were able to renovate the downstairs children's classroom. It was classroom C. It was a mixed-use classroom for adults and kids, but we've really upgraded it with some really fun colors and some features that were needed specifically for children's classes. You can see it on the bottom right here, nice bright green wall, new facilities for getting dirty, kid-side sinks, those kind of things, and a really big closet, which I was told is the most important part to our educators, storage space. Also, we are putting the finishing touches on the reservoir room, which is a renovated theater. And the picture on the left looks very different from the theater that most of you have known over the years. We completely gutted the building, or the room, not the whole building. And we removed all the seating. We actually broke through the wall. So now you see a row of windows and doors. We've expanded our cafe terrace, so now we have a larger deck that can be used for private events. It could be a private event terrace. We think this is going to really increase our revenue through rentals for private events. And this also means that we can have small weddings year-round in the winter, which we're really excited about. And yes, it's already rented a few dates, so we're excited about Over the next 2 years, we will be doing a lot of infrastructure improvements out in our gardens. We'll be upgrading the hardscape, the grading and drainage, the irrigation, as well as the electrical work out in the Nadeau garden, the winter garden, the court, and the lawn garden. And if you know each of those gardens, basically, we're going end to end with our formal gardens. We really need to focus on maintaining what we have here and upgrading our infrastructure before we launch into the next phase of our capital campaign, an idea that's been endorsed by our board. Also guided by our plan, we've done a lot to increase the professional development opportunities for our staff and to encourage them to share their expertise through symposia and lecturing on site for some of our adult educational programs as well. Our staff has put together a robust lineup of homegrown exhibitions, as well as brought in renowned artists and through large-scale sculpture exhibits. I'm sure some of you saw the new one that was just installed today in the court. There's a picture on the top left of the beautiful tassels that are in the Poetic Kinetics Flora and Flight exhibition with 3 different installations. So after this, make sure you take time to walk up Pliny's Alley Boardwalk, through the court, and out into the lawn garden to see all 3. We've also engaged more youth and adult learners than ever before. As we mentioned, 17,000 people have taken a class here just in the last year. And we do all of this while remaining very committed and engaged to both all of our community, both on the Hill and out in the community as well. And of course, all of this can't be achieved without our wonderful staff, as Kent mentioned. I wanted to highlight my senior staff. Some of them were able to come today. So we have Jane Ellis, Marissa Gallant, Heather Griffin, Kichu Jian, Teresa Lee, Mark Richardson, Diana West, and LaFawn Woodliff. Thank you all so much for leading your department so well. I think we might have a few other staff that were able to join the group today. So can any staff in the room stand up? We'll give you all a round of applause. I like to be in the limelight. I'm getting daggers. I'm gonna make them clap for me. But you guys really deserve all the credit for everything that goes on here at the garden. I could not do any of this without a wonderful team around me. Now, looking forward to later this summer, we are going to be taking a big leap forward in our strategic plan objectives that are focusing on plant conservation and sustainability. We are going to be partnering with the 2 organizations on the screen. One is regional, the Ecological Landscape Alliance, and one is international, the Botanic Garden Conservation International. And we'll be taking on an important leadership role in plant conservation and ecological landscape design. I really look forward to telling you more about it. We're going to send out a press release in just a couple weeks. So I'm going to leave that little cliffhanger there. But what we're doing is really leaning into plant conservation in a new way. So we're really, really thrilled to be able to break that news right after the 4th of July holiday. So stay tuned. So thank you all so much for your time today and for attending our meeting or watching it on the screen. You really are helping us achieve our mission of creating experiences with plants that inspire people and improve the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. I'll call on, just make sure I didn't lose the page here. The governance report with Gail Weiss, chairman of that committee. Gail.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kindly, Diana printed large font, so I think I may be my classes. At any rate, Mr. President, I move to make the following nominations in accordance with the nominating slate that was made available online for members. As I call your name, please rise. I nominate Catherine Collinbow for a second 3-year term as trustee. I nominate Taylor Bearden, Lisa Kirby-Gibbs, Mark Shelton, and Shannon Wall for a first 3-year term as trustee. I nominate Michael Macnowski, Matthew Mavis, Lisa McDonough, and Kendra Russell for a 1-year term in order to continue serving as officers. I nominate the following individuals as officers of the society. President Kent DeRussell, Treasurer Emily Wood, Assistant Treasurer Michael Macnowski, Secretary Rick Leaf, and Vice Presidents Catherine Collinbow, James Karadimos, Matthew Mattis, Lisa McDonough, and myself, Gilchrist. Nominate the following individual to a second 3-year term on the governance committee for Collinbow. I nominate the following individual to a new 3-year term on the governance committee, Shelton. I nominate the following individual to serve a 1-year term on the governance committee to complete an unfinished term, Samantha McDonald. May I have a second, please, for this motion?
Second.
Thank you. On the submitted votes, there were 75 in favor, 0 opposed, 15 abstained. So the motion
The
carries.
motion carries.
I next move to accept the recommendation of the Board of Trustees of the Worcester County Horticultural Society to amend the society's bylaws as follows. There's nothing controversial here. Change any mention of executive director to chief executive officer or CEO. Change any mention of Tower Hill Botanic Garden to New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill. May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Of the submitted votes, there were 75 in favor, 1 opposed, 14 abstained, and the motion carries. I would now like to invite the new trustees forward for a photo. New trustees.
It always amazes me that we can find people willing to volunteer for these scary positions. We would like to give our gratitude to retiring trustees. It's very important. Ulam Pixon Athol, Elizabeth Miska, who taught me how to cross the street with a VIP, a visually impaired person. So thank you, Liz. I actually have used it on a number of occasions. Diane Robbins, all dedicated years to the Worcester County Horticultural Society and the garden here. And I invite them to come forward to receive a small token. And believe me, it is a small token of our appreciation. We don't want to waste money that you've given us. Let's see, we're on to awards. This is fun. I would like to invite Marissa Gallant, our Director of Education, to present the Volunteer Award. Gitu Payne, Senior Marketing and Communications Manager, to present the Community Greening Award, and Mark Richardson, Director of Horticulture, to present the Alice Milton Award for Excellence in Horticultural Design. We invite each award recipient to come forward. After you, afterwards, you'll get we'll take your photograph. Okay, so let's see, who do we call here? Marissa Gallant, you have to present the volunteer awards to Joyce Hyde. Is she here? Joyce Hyde.
So Joyce could not be here today, Kent.
Okay,
But I was gonna say a few words,
say a few words.
if you wouldn't mind. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. As Kent so kindly introduced, I'm Marissa Gallant, the Director of Education here at New England Botanic Garden, and I'm pleased to be here today to present our annual volunteer award. So as Kent mentioned, Joyce Hyde is our awardee this year. She unfortunately could not be here with us in person, but she is tuning in on Zoom. Hi, Joyce. I hope you're listening. So our annual volunteer award is presented to volunteers who have demonstrated outstanding service to New England Botanic Garden. The nominations come from our staff and are reviewed and selected by the awards committee in conjunction with the volunteer and intern coordinator. So a little bit about Joyce. Joyce began volunteering with New England Botanic Garden in 2016, and since then she has given over 450 hours to the garden. She is a familiar face in our volunteer community, and Joyce has undoubtedly made her mark over the years. Joyce is a well-rounded volunteer and quite literally has done it all. Her earliest volunteer memories are of coating red gloopy stuff on apples in the orchard to help with pest control. And since then, she's volunteered in almost every position available, including helping maintain our gardens, acting as a greeter for public events, leading guided tours, and running drop-in activities for children and families. Joyce is extremely reliable and is always eager and willing to help in whatever capacity is needed. She is often staying early, picking up extra shifts, or staying late to help and provide extra support. Joyce's commitment to the garden is clear, as is her eagerness to help make our programs and initiatives as successful as they can be. She is oftentimes one of the first faces that visitors see when they walk through our doors, and she couldn't be more welcoming, friendly, and engaging. She regularly goes the extra mile to create an unforgettable experience, and will even show up in costume to fit the theme of the event she's greeting at. She's also known to come up with witty, clever quips to get a laugh out of her visitors. During our Killer in the Conservatory murder mystery event, she could be overheard that evening telling attendees who lost track of their teams that it was safer to stay in group because there was a killer on the loose. Joyce has a curious mind and is always looking for new ways to enjoy and understand the world around her. She's observant, she's thoughtful, and she regularly asks insightful questions that not only improve her knowledge, but also help us to improve our programs and our operations. She brings such a positive energy, and her kindness and nonstop enthusiasm for helping others is inspiring. It's clear to anyone that interacts with Joyce that she's committed to New England Botanic Garden's mission of creating experiences with plants that inspire people and improve the world. Joyce, I am so happy to virtually present you with this award. Thank you so much for your continued support and dedication. We truly appreciate everything you do for us here at New England Botanic Garden. Thank you.
Next, Gitu, you'll present the Community Greening Award, please.
Thank you, Ken. Good afternoon, everyone. As Ken mentioned, my name is Geeta Jain. I'm the Senior Marketing and Communications Manager here at the Garden, and it's my honor to present the following Community Greening Award. These awards honor the efforts of individuals, municipalities, nonprofits, or community groups using plants in gardening to bring people together or address a public need. Projects which can take place across New England must meet a variety of sustainability standards. Recipients are nominated each year by members of the public and selected in various categories. The 2024 Community Greening awardees include 5 municipalities and businesses in Massachusetts and beyond. Please come forward for a photo opportunity after I describe your project. This year, we have 2 projects that we would like to honor in the Best Storefront category. The first is Page Chiropractic in Worcester, Massachusetts. They transformed a grass yard at their business location into a pollinator garden full of native plants that is also visually appealing for passerby. Their leadership and attention to the landscape in a heavily developed area sets an example for other individuals and businesses in the community to follow. Page Chiropractor, if you're here, please step forward. The next is Kennebunk Savings Bank in Kennebunk, Maine. The bank beautified their gardens with a mix of annuals, perennials, and shrubs. Their significant efforts demonstrate the positive impact an individual business can have on a community as they inspired the town of Kennebunk to take on the beautification of Main Street. Is anyone here from the Kennebunk Savings Bank? Do you mind staying for a picture?
Good evening, can you hear me?
Hi, Chris, almost time.
All right, application.
We also have two projects this year that fall under the Best Municipally Sponsored Project category. The first is the town of Kennebunk, Maine for their Main Street Beautification Project. Following the example of Kennebunk Savings Bank, they created beautiful gardens in the traffic bump outs and all along Main Street. These impressive plantings enhance the experience of Main Street for residents and visitors alike. Chris Ostrider, Community Development Director and Town Engineer, accepts the award virtually on behalf of Barry Tippett, Town Manager, and the Public Works Division, the Downtown Revitalization Committee, and Downtown Implementation.
I'd just like to say thank you very much. We did this project back in 2010, and it's very rare that 14 years later, we're getting recognized for something. And I would just say the award before us is really inspirational. Kennebunk Savings is a leader in the community, and when we follow their lead, I think it's been easy for the town to continue to reinvest in this. So having heard the presentation for the prior 45 minutes or so, I'd say it's quite an honor to be recognized by the New England Botanical Garden. So thank you very much. And I'm pretty excited to say we did a project that people outside of our town appreciates. Thank you.
We would also like to honor the town of Clinton, Massachusetts for their High Street Revitalization Project in the same category. This project included renovating the streetscape, installing new shopfront signs, and planting wide variety of trees. The effort has enhanced the historic charm of the 19th century town center with curb cuts and benches. Is there anyone from
Your name? Jason.
And the final Community Greening Award we are giving out today is presented to the Watson Park Pollination Preservation Garden in Northborough, Massachusetts. This project, led by a group of dedicated individuals, involved the incorporation of native plants to a garden space at the entrance of Watson Park. The plantings support at-risk bees and butterflies. Is there anyone from Watson Park? Congratulations, everyone. The nominations for fiscal year 2025 will open on July 1st. If you know of any worthy project related to the categories of best storefront, best municipally sponsored project, best sustainable public green space, best innovative use of plants, or best food security project, please nominate them. We also encourage all of our community greening award winners to please stay for a few minutes following the meeting so we can take photos in our beautiful gardens. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, next. Oh, okay, good. Mark, you do the Alice Milton Award. That always sounds so fancy to me.
Thank you, Ken. It is my pleasure to be here this afternoon. So as Ken mentioned, you've heard a few times, I'm the horticulture director here for the Botanic Garden at Tower Hill. And I'm very pleased to present the Alice Milton Award this afternoon. It's my distinct pleasure to present this year's Alice Milton Award, which is presented every other year to recognize the lifetime achievement in horticulture design. This year's recipient, Julie Moore, Missouri, is one of our region's most beloved and brilliant garden designers. Julie is a distinguished lecturer. I'm very pleased that she'll be giving a lecture at the conclusion of the meeting this afternoon, so you'll all get to hear her speak, and the author of 9 books on landscape design. She has been on a self-described decades-long mission to democratize sustainable landscape design, which led to the founding of Home Outside in 2010, a startup that offered the first online landscape design service. In 2011, the company released the Home Outside app, a simple landscape design app that rapidly reached over 500,000 downloads. In 2023, Home Outside launched Julie, the world's first AI landscape designer. Home Outside has been nominated for the 2024 Earthshot Prize, the most prestigious global award for climate innovation. In addition to her work to make landscape design more accessible, Julie founded and ran Julie Moore Missouri Design Studios, an award-winning landscape architecture and design firm in southern Vermont. Her best-known work, the 3-acre Toronto Music Garden, was designed in collaboration noted cellist Yo-Yo Ma and received the Leonardo da Vinci Award for Innovation and Creativity. The Alice B. Milton Award, nominees for the Alice B. Milton Award are collected throughout the year from landscape professionals and voted and selected upon by a small committee called the Alice B. Milton Award Committee. This year's committee included Brian Maynard, who's on the faculty at the University of Rhode Island, Annie White, who's on the faculty at the University of Vermont, and Joanne Vieira, a longtime horticulture director here for New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill. We met earlier this year to discuss this year's nominees, which was a list of 9 candidates. And I have to say, everyone's eyes lit up when we started talking about Julie. Committee members noted Julie's special talent for planting design first, and second, her warmth and humor as really rare traits in the landscape design world. She's a fabulous person. I think you'll get to learn a little bit more about her career and all that she's done in the world this afternoon. So on behalf of the Worcester County Horticultural Society, I'm thrilled to honor Julie with the 2024 Alice B. Milton Award for Excellence in Horticulture.
Okay. Now we have the Trustee Emeriti Award. We're conferring this honor this year to 2 individuals who have many, many years of service to the Worcester County Horticultural Society and the garden. Howard Jacobson is a longtime member of the garden, a longtime supporter of the Culture LEAP program. We would not have been able to educate 2,000 second graders from Worcester for so many years without his and his late wife Francis's commitment and support. Howard had served on the Finance and Investment Committee, the Governance Committee, and was a trustee from 2017 to 2023. I don't know if he's online or he might be, but let's give him a minute. And to Dick Gleason. He has played a vital role in the planning and execution of our capital campaign and was essential helping to run the advancement department during staff turnover and COVID. He really had the hand on the tiller at that point. Dick spent countless hours working with Grace Elton and all levels of the advancement staff. He was really down in the trenches. Dick served as trustee from 2017 to 23 and was vice president for most of those years. And we know that's a hellish role. Continues to serve on the development committee and the perennial circle working group. The garden owes Dick's a huge thanks. Maybe the audience here needs an award for patience at this point, but this year, let's see. Okay, we have we're honoring Frank Bissett. Frank, he's been an integral member of the New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill since its founding. He has spent countless hours as a volunteer contributing to the success of the garden in just every aspect of its operation. A remarkable man, really. He was part of the original team of horticulture volunteers and spent extensive time assisting in the development and the maintenance of all the formal gardens and the woodland areas on the property at the very beginning of the time when we moved up to the hill here. When the New England Botanic Garden began to decorate the gardens and visitor centers with lights during the holidays, Frank was an active participant, and it was not unusual to see him up in the trees stringing lights, which is now staff only. Obvious. Those were the days of pirates up here. When the garden began to offer public and private tours, Frank was one of the first tour guides. His knowledge of the property, his experience in horticulture, both at the garden and his own home gardens, contributed to the great enjoyment by those who attended his tours. He was the first volunteer to assist the special event staff in the setup and running of the various plant shows, art exhibitions, crafts fairs. He was really ubiquitous. He was all over the garden. He had access to the storage rooms and repaired and painted the props, equipment used by the exhibitors and vendors. He was present when the exhibitors and vendors arrived prior to their shows and helped them unload their vehicles, set up their displays, did the configuration of the tables. You sort of wonder if he ever got home to his own garden. At the conclusion of the shows, he assisted in the breakdown of the exhibitions. He was tireless. He hung the paintings and photographs on the walls of the Milton Gallery for art exhibitions. And for many years, Frank, more than any other single person, was responsible for the success of these shows. Frank was an expert carpenter, built shelving in his home workshop to display merchandise in the garden shop. In the early years of the development of the garden, Frank was an indispensable resource, and as a volunteer, did the work that is now done by contractors or paid members of the staff. His friendly and cooperative style created friendships with everyone. And in addition, Frank is a longtime member of the John Green Society. Not only does he contribute his time, but we force him to give us money as well. He's just a great ambassador for the garden. When the Distinguished Service Award for Volunteers was established for volunteers with at least 10 years service and at least 2,000 hours of volunteer time, Frank was in the original class of volunteers to be recognized. Each member in that class had between 2,000 and 3,000 hours of service. Frank had over 5,000. The garden owes him a great deal, and our success depends today and is built on his shoulders of the contributions that Frank made. So I don't, is Frank around? Yes. You know, it's rare that you give an award to such an obvious and marvelous candidate. It's really the soul of the garden. Do I have a motion to adjourn the 183rd annual meeting of the Horticultural Society? Second? Yeah, all in favor? With great enthusiasm. Okay, we conclude our meeting. Thank you. Now it's my great pleasure, and this will be fun. So we could shift in our seats a little bit and relax and enjoy Julie's talk. And you need no further introductions since we've already introduced you.
Hi, I'm going to speak for about half an hour, just so you know. We'll probably have refreshments, but I wanted to start by me in nature, because that's why we're all here. We all played in nature, and it influenced us all to become part of this incredible organization. What an honor to be here, what an honor to be honored, but what a wonderful thing to be part of what you just went through together. To talk about this amazing institution. I'm really flabbergasted at all you've done, and I've been here many times before. I've spoken here before some years ago. I've worked with Grace at the Lewis Ginter Botanic Garden, so I've had that wonderful opportunity. This is really extraordinary. So Nancy, is there something I can click? You're gonna, am I gonna say next? Really? I have a clicker.
We're good.
All right, I never do that. That's all right. So here I am, one of 7 children. And when you're one of 7, how many have big families in this group? You know what I mean. I'm number 2. Good place to be. Powerful, but not all powerful. And this is not our family. This is a birthday party, but that's what it felt like all the time. Crazy, out of control, wonderful, exciting, and outside became my contemplative garden. And so I would go as much as I possibly could. Next one. And there I would experience just this feeling of awe, reverence, quiet. Finally, I'd be there with my friends, with my siblings. But it was always this sort of smallness inside of this big, big space that was very, very important to me, and became the fulcrum of what I've done ever since in the landscape design. Next one. I'm a landscape designer, not a landscape architect. I'm not a horticulturist. I'm sort of ill-trained. I went to architecture school at MIT, of all things. Went to Wellesley for art history, architecture and city planning at MIT. And halfway you can move on to the next one. This is me moving to Connecticut and loving the verticality from the early stage, which was Illinois. I opened up a book on Japanese gardens, the Saihoji, the famous moss temple, and others. And I said, this is what I want to do with my life. Here it is. That's what I played in nature. I knew these places. They were a little more cleaned up in the Japanese version, but I understood them in my soul. And that's what I wanted to do with my life. So I asked my professor at the time, who had talked about East Asian design, how do I get to go to Japan? How do I get to learn the secrets of Japanese garden design? And he said, oh, he was German, you'll just get a fellowship. Yeah, right. So I'm walking down the infinite corridor of MIT, and there's a little 8.5 by 11 sheet that says, do you want to work in Japan, in East Asia, or study? And I said yes. So I became a Henry Luce Scholar. We were the second year of that. Wonderful. In fact, we just last week celebrate our 50th anniversary of, and I was in the 49th ago class. Anyway, next one. So I was able to go work with a garden master named Kinsaku Nakane. And there he is in his young phase, about 38 years old there. He was 65 at the time, which seemed incredibly old because I was 24. And he was well known for, after the war, building and maintaining and also renovating some of the greatest gardens in Japan. And he readily took me in for the first amount of time I was there. He had me look at 80 gardens all around Japan and just open my heart to them and understand them that way. And then he had me work in the gardens and also work in his design studio. So I had an amazing experience for about 1.5 years. Next one. And it changed my life in every possible way. Here he is later, about 10 years later, he came to the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. This is not my design, this is Sensei's design that he created, but I was in charge of building that garden, working with, on site and helping make the conditions for that beautiful garden as beautiful as it is because he came. So I was very lucky to finish my apprenticeship later on, and in the meantime, started building gardens myself. So yeah, just keep them coming now. Do you want me to say next?
That's helpful.
All right. So this is the Museum of Fine Arts Japanese Garden. If you haven't been there, it's open to the public. You don't actually have to pay to go in when it's open. And it's a very beautiful place to sit. And a lot of it was based on the feeling of New England, because I flew us around New England in a small plane the day before he set all the stones. So it has this very Japanese quality and real, but then there's also something else that feels like Monadnock, Mount Monadnock and the Maine coast and other things you see when you're there. Next one. So I started writing books, and I wanted to write books because of that experience I had in childhood, contemplative experience, and then in Japan, but I realized that I didn't know enough about the rest of the world. So I started traveling. I was able to go with a National Geographic photographer, Sam Abel, and we photographed 7 different garden realms, including Lake Como, totally different than Japan, Marrakesh, Kashmir, New York. We went to New York to the pocket parks there, Devon, England, where have I lost? And back to Japan, of course. So we created this book, Contemplative Gardens, the first book, next one. And then I did the Inward Garden, which was really all about the garden that's inside of each one of you. And how do I create it as your designer, as an outward garden on the land? So that's probably my favorite book that I've written, The Inward Garden. And I love this quote from the Persian poet Rumi: "This outward spring and garden are the reflection of the inward garden." What is that garden within? And that became the sort of focus of my next book. And starting with the next one's trying to help everyone understand what is this inward garden that you have that makes you completely different than every single other person in this room. So in theory, every person's garden in this room should be completely different than everyone else's. And next. Okay, so I wrote The Inward Garden and The Magic Land, next one. And based on that, I realized that our job as a designer, that my job is to understand what people long for. This is not about left-brainedness. This is about the middle of the onion is all about longing, and how do we fulfill those longings through the spaces we create on the land. That's a big job, but that is the job of a good designer, I think. And it's also a good, yeah, do the next one, please. Oh, hello, okay. There we go. So what we started to do was to actually, and this is, I have a team that I work with, we started creating gardens for all sorts of people, and they all should sort of look very different from each other. Next one. And here I created out of this whole idea, sort of understanding that there's spatial archetypes in the world. And if you can tell me what your archetype that you love the most is, or if you love them all, then I can create a garden around these spaces for you. And I'm going to go through these fast, but I don't know if I can. I'm really pretty fast. There's 7 of them. There are only 7 spaces in the world, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's architecture, landscape, and they all come back to the same idea. And I think I'll explain it to you. And you'll see. There's the sea, the cave, the harbor, the promontory, the island, the mountain, and the sky. And I've been lecturing about this for years. Some of you may have heard me. Next one. And I want to start with the sea, because the sea is the first experience any of you have ever had of space. And when is that? What is the first experience? You're inside the mother's womb, okay? And you're in this inner place where you're a tiny embryo, then you get bigger and bigger, and eventually you come out. But you're immersed, completely immersed. Next one. And that immersion is important. It's like what you do every morning when you take a shower, when you go, next one, into a bamboo grove and you see pine forests or bamboo groves. Next. Thank you. There we go. And many of my gardens are really created around this feeling. Next one. And this is the Mount Auburn Cemetery spruce knoll. The cave is a second archetypal garden. Archetype means, of course, fundamental form. So this is like the very most, when you strip it down to nothing else. I like to use landscape, of course, as the metaphor for what it is that one experiences in the world. But when you're born, you come out through a tunnel, you're held close, you're swaddled, your little neck can't hold itself up very well. So you like to find little tiny hollows and places that you can get in the hidey holes and feel good in. The next one. And what's fun about that is that really gardens are really good at this. When you think about all the little garden houses you've ever been in, they're usually a little small, they're a little rustic, they're at the end of the world. They're a place you almost have to bend down to get into. Next one. There we go. And every window from your house looking out is really inside of a cave, looking to the outside of the landscape from dark to light. So every window in your house is really important as a design element. Next one. And a harbor is the next archetype, where that child now, who's, is floppy necked, now can hold its neck and look out at the world. And they like being held in by enclosing arms. Next one. And this is everywhere we see in a garden. This is a garden I designed in Cambridge for a busy mother. She could sit down, watch her children run around, but she had this little place of enclosing arms where she could really nestle in and enjoy sort of a space for herself, a contemplative space in her world. Next one. And this you can see in Excedra benches. You see this all the time, inside and outside of a house and a landscape. Next one. A promontory is the 4th archetype, and it's my favorite in a way, because you're sort of at the very edge of the world when you're in a promontory. And that's the moment when a child gets off the lap of the parent and says, I'm bigger than this. I have all these little grandchildren under 5. And they're, the 3-year-old boys, they're so cool now, but they start toddling out. First they creep, right, on the ground. That's a kind of promontory, like a peninsula. And then they stand up and they toddle out and they're checking out where the parent is all the time, but they're going that way, away from the parent. And that's a promontory. It's exciting, it's risky. And in a garden, we have belvederes, we have terraces, we have all kinds of edge conditions that we create around. That is a wonderful place to be and exciting. Next one. So I love promontories. Everyone who's ever been to the Middleton Plantation, and this wonderful picture of the former rice fields that became the butterfly lakes. I love this. And you sit on these kind of bleacher seats, promontories, each one of them, looking out on this fantastic landscape. Really worth seeing in South Carolina. Next one. And then every deck, every balcony, they're all promontories in the landscape. There's architecture, they're sort of inside, and they're sort of outside at the same time. They're a transitional space. And they're very exciting places to be. Next one. And then islands. What happens? Who's an island in the world? But the child who's been a promontory and exploring the world suddenly cuts the cord from the parents, right? And they say, okay, I'm big. I'm a landscape of my own. I may be a small landscape. I'm looking up at the sky on my back and taking in the cosmic world up there. And those are teenagers, right? And of course, all of these things we still continue to feel every day. We're still teenagers in a way when we're on an island, but we're also experiencing new things as well. The next one. In gardens, is sort of the chaise lounge, the picnic blanket on the wall, on the lawn, the terrace in the middle of things is sort of an island. Next one. And its low focal points are also islands for people. Next one. Then there's mountain, and I think everyone in this room is in the mountain phase. We're wise, we're adults, we're moving upward, closer and closer to the sky. And as we move, we have great wisdom. We've already been there and done that before. So we look down on the world and we say, well, I know this. And then we have this sort of wisdom about it that all our grandchildren can learn from. And as we get closer to the very tippy top, our world starts to get a little smaller again. And we're sort of more in the ozone. Next one. And it feels like a bird, but these places where you're looking out from on high to another place on high, like in Kashmir here, we're looking to the wonderful mountain in the background, is a wonderful place to be. Next one. And in the music garden, I'll show you this in a minute, we sort of doubled the CN Tower, which is a very high tower you can look down at the whole city from, and the music garden looks particularly good from up there. But we put in a maypole, sort of a feeling of maypole, so that you could imaginatively inhabit a high mountain, even though you were on some low hills on the music garden. So we could really manipulate imagination as well as physical capabilities, as well as this experience of life that you're always experiencing as you go through life, these different archetypes. Next one. And sky is the last one. And when do we experience sky? Well, one time it might be when we die, I think. When we're creative, we have this sort of epiphanal moments and we're sort of out in the ozone there. And probably when we fall in love, you know? So these are wonderful moments and they're transformational. The sky is a great archetype. Next one. You leave the landscape behind. You're floating in the air like a bird. Next one. And what's great about Japanese gardens, and all gardens like here, where the reflecting pool is there, it pulls that right down into your own picture plane. So that we're always seeing movement. Movement is all about, sky is about movement. We're even in the smallest little water basin, we can see so much of what's above us at the same time. Next one. So these have been useful to me in my life, and they're not completely finished yet, because there's sort of two ways that you use these, as far as I've been in my theory, that you either take actual movements through a garden, using a departure point, a destination point, a way, as we say, and events along the way. And a longer lecture, I would go into this. Next one. But this physically moving through a garden, this is a Japanese garden I did, or Japanesque in Edinburgh, Scotland, a few years ago. And you can see that you can take a little journey all the way through here and over here and over here, and the dogs take the journey there. You know, that's really, when you think about what a garden is, it's a stroll journey. And it has, you know, a beginning and an end, and a place you want to get to, a destination, and then a way to go through it, and things that happen along the way that make it exciting to be in that garden. That's really all a garden is, except for one thing. Next one. And this shows just another journey to a beautiful garden we did in Maine recently, just before the pandemic. Next one. So the other kind of journey is the journey of when you get to the destination point. You're looking out over the promontory, or on top of the mountain where the archetype is, and you have this mind journey. Your body's at rest, it's stopped, finally stopped. But you, from a nice viewing position like that bench, look out through a framed view, usually, to a focal point, and you can lose yourself. You can contemplate that focal point and feel really good doing it. But that's what we can do with gardens, which is so amazing that we can choreograph the whole experience of the people that come to work with us to enjoy our gardens by the way that we make the path, by the placement of our destination. We can use the archetypes to decide what that destination should look like. Is it inward, completely inward, like a sea? Or is it on the top of a mountain, like a mountain? And many things in between. And we can also live these throughout our lives, which is pretty exciting. So next one. And see, this is just showing you how the mind journey works from inside the house, looking through the windows out, next one, to that Japanese garden in Edinburgh. And then from the main garden, looking to the focal point itself from inside. So these are things that happen inside, outside, in nature as well. Promontories are natural after all. Next one. So that's my sort of big early theory that I still love. And I still use it every day, and I still have a book to finish writing instead of the second chapter of every book. But I gotta finish the other stuff first. So quickly, this is my team. I love them. They've been with me 17 years in Stevens River, Vermont, 450 people that were there. And these people, they all found me, 2 landscape architects, a landscape designer, and a wonderful writer, communications person. And they're the ones that helped me with a lot of the designs in the last 20 years since I moved to Vermont from Boston, and also with our apps, which I'll talk about in a minute. Next one. And we have a mission statement, and it's a high-minded mission, but why not? Our mission is to create and inspire others to create exquisite, a very high bar, just like it is here. I see that. So amazing. And environmentally sensitive places of beauty and meaning, that's why we're in this, by means of a joyful process. And if the process isn't joyful, we got to change it. So that's my job. Next one. And I think that's a great mission statement. It still makes a lot of sense to me. And we make beautiful projects, all different. This one very environmentally sensitive, very green. Next one. Just a fun project that has a handrail, one of my favorite projects, because one of our problems is always, what's the big idea that we're trying to help our clients have? We know them now, we know what they love, but then we have a job to fulfill. This was a treehouse garden where they had some big pine trees, and we didn't want to hurt the root systems in this tiny little property they had. So we put in sonotubes and used self-weathering steel and made what we call a handrail. You can see the water going down, but you can also hold on to it as a handrail going down the hill. Next one. And then it recirculates back up from this point and starts all over again. It's very fun. Next one. So these are, working with creative people is the best thing in the world. So now, working with Yo-Yo Ma is also one of the greatest things in the world. I'm giving you the highlights here. Yo-Yo asked me to create, he read Contemplative Gardens way back, and I was working with his family on their garden, and he read it and he said, we should do a contemplative garden in a city. Yes, we should, but how? And he said, well, why don't you take Suite Number 1 by Johann Sebastian Bach and turn the music into a garden? And I want you to become the designer for a moment. Play just a little bit of the first cello suite and the prelude section. You know this well. Be abrupt. There we go. So, but you know this piece. That's great. So if you were me and you were given that piece, how would you design it as a garden? What do you hear? What did you hear? Movement, up and down, in and out, through like this. What else? Repetition. What else? I heard stream. Da, 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 da. And I heard lots of ripple effects, and so I made this prelude, and I based that on I based those ideas on this lot of shade garden, green, and it was around a riverscape, which is really the path you walk through. But you can see that there's 6 movements in the garden. Each one is based on one of the 6 movements in the piece. And so there's prelude, the Allemande, an ancient German dance, the Courante, an ancient Italian dance, Sarabande Spanish, the minuet, of course, a formal place that everyone would bow and curtsy to the court. And then the jig, which was more of the fun place where everyone did a jig. And I created a series of steps going down the hill. Next one. And such a fun thing to do. We started in Boston, failed in Boston, lots of good reasons. But we did it in Toronto. And there's a film that's about it, a PBS special that came out 20-some. This is its 25th year now. So this is an old garden for me. But we've been working in it ever since. And this is the middle of the Courante. Next one. And it's just a very happy place, and people come and play there, and they even have music in the garden as well, in the Summer Music in the Garden series. You can see that I look for lots of inspiration. I played the music for everybody. Yo-Yo did as well whenever he could. And I took this ancient dance movement where the dancer comes up, this dancer comes up, they link arms and they go back. And that's what the Courante is all about. So it was a joyful thing. Next one. And they have the Summer Music Garden series that is music from all over, classical music from all over the world. And it happens every Thursday night in the garden throughout the summer. Next one. So when people are all through a yacht theater, next one, please. A dance. And when people are moving through the garden, it's a very happy place and really fun to have designed this. Next one. Okay, I'm going to move forward quickly. We've done all kinds of wild things, but one of them has been a garden for the Southern Connecticut State University based on social justice values. And we did do that by asking people to help us design it, and 100 students worked with us on this. And we came out with some really cool things. I'll show you the next one. One of the gardens we did get built there is the Compassion Garden, which was for the 4 teachers in the Newtown Massacre who had gone to this university. And we made a remembrance garden for them. Next one. And you can see some of the archetypes. What's the archetype that you see here? Enclosing arms, right? So it's harbor where everyone wants to sit, and they look through a framed view with a mind journey looking to New Haven. So you can see how some of these ideas come about. Next one. And then recently, most recently, we did the Frederick Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park, their central there's such a beautiful visitor center done by Chen Williams, and it's spectacular inside. And our garden is just outside of this. Next one. It all comes around our garden. It's the only picture I have done during the pandemic. Next one. I'm almost there. But I wanted to worry, I've always been worried about these people too, because I've worked for lots of really wonderful people doing really special things, but I haven't been able to work for them because they can't afford to work with me, and I don't have enough way to work with them. So I set out to figure out a way to do it. How can we help the 43 million, 45 million people that don't have beautiful gardens in their front or backyard? That was the question I posed. Next one. And so I started a tech business, which is pretty crazy. And this is why. Why are 85% of US yards so barren? Because most owners can't afford a professional landscape design, and most contractors can't provide one. That's not their métier. That's what we know how to do. Next one. So, yeah, and this just shows you sort of the breakdown of how it works, because when you're an entrepreneur, you have to know this. Next one. So I started writing books that were more simple than Inward Garden. And Home Outside was really my way of giving back to people what is in my brain about how you design a garden. And then I thought, oh, all these people will read this. And a lot of people read it. 3,000 people read it. But that wasn't enough, right? If you're going to try and democratize landscape design, you have to do a bigger job. Next one. So we took the idea of Home Outside from that is home, but it's also outside. Outside is as much about home as inside is for you. And so we created an app, a little drag and drop app. This is way back 12 years ago. And we hand drew all the 800 elements that are part of every single landscape, from the compost pile to the house to the driveway, to the plants. And we were able to upload a Google Earth image and design on top of it. And I can design a garden in 10 minutes with this little app, and it's still out there. We've just renamed it Yard Planner. Next one. We also took this app and were able to work remote, the first remote design service that was ever out there, working with people all over the world, using our app, our 2D app, and then being able to give them a conceptual design that they could, we could just put notes to, and they could get their contractor to create for them, or bring it to another designer to refine it. Next one. Yards End does this now. All these other companies have done this, but it still wasn't enough for us. It just didn't feel like it was really helping the people we were trying to get to. Then we worked with Proven Winners, wonderful plant company. We created an app for them, perfect plant pairings, and we started putting plants together. Because my group knows plants, and they know the spacings, and they know everything they need to know. Next one. So they put this together and just sort of roll through these. Next one. And we put two different colors you could choose, and deer resistant, drought tolerant, all these different attributes. We put this little app together. Next one. And then that wasn't enough. And then we started creating 3D plants, because the whole tech world started getting pretty interesting about 6 years ago. And so we create the most beautiful plants, I think, that are out there. Next one. And we create collections of plants. So we started doing that and working with partnerships like Proven Winners and others, as well as native plant groups. And next one, and I'm almost there, and we work with Bonnie Plants doing raised bed and vegetable gardens. Next one, I'm not going to show all this, but they really, well, let's show it for a minute, because I want to show you one thing. So you get to choose, this is another app, and we were trying to get people to plant more plants again. Now you can take the 3D model that we created, collection, and you can put it in your own yard. You can see it in augmented reality. So you can decide where it should go, you can place it, you can imagine that it's just the perfect thing there, and we go from there. Go on to the next one, that's great. Thank you. And so we have this vision. I think I'm going to go beyond this. I want to show you where we're at today. But we were trying to help this person with a small yard have a beautiful front yard. We couldn't do the backyard yet. And we needed to do it, not with Google. They don't allow us to work with them. We had to buy data and do aerial data to understand what to do. Do the next one. We won't play this. Oh, okay, so this is where we are today. And actually, next week, this app is coming out. So I'm going to show you what we're doing. You could start it and play it. This app is Home Outside, and it's 3D and augmented reality and AI. Okay, so we could reconstruct your front yard, your house, in a very simple way, and we can tell you where sort of you might want to put some plants. And we can show you the plants you can select from three options. We'll have many, many more coming up. And you can choose where they should go, or we can choose where they will go for you. And then you can place them and see them and visualize them, because visualization is half the problem here. People don't know what they want, and they don't know that this is a good idea, and they don't know how beautiful their gardens can be. And they don't also understand that you can remove lawn and be more sort of sustainable in that way. And then you can create native plant collections, vegetable garden collections, etc. The best part about this app is that we show you how much it costs. We show you how much lawn is removed. We put it into projects you can do in small increments over a weekend, or you can hire a contractor to do it, and we give you a planting plan. But this has never been done before, and it's pretty cool. Thank you. If that's not all, I'll do the next one. Just one more video, and then we're done. But now we realize that people also need to try and place them themselves. And this is where I think it'd be really fun to work with you guys. So this is just on a street in Belmont, or maybe it's Arlington. We're placing our collections that we created and trees, just placing them and holding them in place and trying it, seeing what happens to it. Do you see it? And we're going to go place some hedges and some trees, and also some of the vegetable garden collections. So just hold on a sec. Here comes it. This is my COO, who is not a designer, and suddenly he's become a designer, and he's just completely excited about. So he's placing those, and now he's about to, we're almost done. We're putting in his hedge to block out the neighboring building, without talking to the neighbors, of course. That's your job. And putting them in, he's almost done. And he's doing this, as you can see, in real time. And you can do it too. So here we have the vegetable gardens. Hopefully they're in a sunny space. We will code that soon. He's removing one he didn't like. And he's putting one in, and now he really likes it. And that's it. So this is all coming out next week. You're the first people to do it. Pretty cool. Yay! I think we're democratizing honesty. Next one. Next one, I'm almost done. Next one. We can do things like show clover lawns, right? We can do the next one. We can show wildflower lawns instead of mown lawns. Next one. We can get really sustainable at the Earth as we were nominated because they understand the potential of what we're doing to help the whole world plant native plants. Next one. So, do carbon emissions and everything else. So it's really an exciting thing. And I was thinking about how great it would be to take your favorite collections from Tower Hill, and we'll make the collections with you, and then we'll put them up and have the Tower Hill collection.
Yes.
And then people can go home and make it themselves. Right? So anyway, there we go. That's it. I think I'm done.
Saw it at weddings.
But anyway, thank you so much. I'm really honored to have this beautiful prize. Thank you for that. My mother's name is Alice, by the way, was Alice. So this is very special. Thank you very much.
Well, that's it. Thank you all for coming. We have our summer evening event going on around the garden, so we invite you to join everybody else who's thronging about, I would assume, while we're here in the nice cool room. They're sweating it in the beer garden. So let's join them. Thank you for coming.